And they all have the same thing in common. Everything they talk about is the best thing since sliced bread. And if you're a channel like ours, you just become a defunct channel. Yeah, this channel's a defunct channel. Let's face it, it just amazes me how many people out there are willing to just say things just to grab on to that appearance of success. To be able to say, hey everybody, I've been reflecting about what's going on in this niche, this live abroad niche. We've been making videos for like 14 years, 13 years. We went abroad 15 years ago, and we've been back in the US for 2 years. And I've been reflecting, and every time I get on YouTube and look at videos about going abroad, I just don't see any changes. It's in 15 years, the thing that has changed is my news school compared to what stayed the same. You know, every time I get on there, you're seeing, this is the part that's changing a little bit. You're seeing more and more, you have been seeing more and more negative titles. And it's not just vloggers, it's also these, nowadays there's way more international consultants than there was just 10 years ago. That's the nature of the internet. When somebody starts doing something, it's new. You know, there's very few, maybe even they're the only one doing it, and they get super popular, and then of course copycats jump in. And so there's international consultants. There's not only one. I know people like to mention the name, the one that started out, you know, and the goody two-shoes guy, and everybody likes to mention that name, but we're not referring necessarily to the guy. There's like half a dozen to a dozen copycat out there, and they're all making, a lot of them are making negative titles like, you know, move abroad or plan B, whatever, but don't go to these 5 countries, you know. And then a different guy says, well, don't go to these 5 countries, so which one's got the 5 countries? Maybe it's 10 countries. And it's interesting because you're seeing that more and more now than you did before. And nothing has changed in the niche. Like when we started vlogging, we were the first ones in Cuenca, Ecuador, and there was nobody vlogging at the time back in 2012. And then shortly thereafter, other vloggers started appearing, and pretty soon the niche got swamped. And there are still people going to these places, cutting their teeth, you know, on blogging, and you know, newbies that just went abroad and they go to these popular places and they start new channels. And it takes a little longer now, but they still, if they stick with it, they get popular because this says a lot about the space and just how saturated and how, not saturated, but just the amount of volume of videos that keeps coming out, and people keep watching them. And that says something about where people are in life. And that tells you something, which I'm going to say something about. It tells you something about the state of affairs of people, especially in Western countries, because there's a lot of people, they're not just from USA, but a lot of them are, and our audience is mostly USA, sometimes other countries, but Canada, you know. But different people leave for different reasons, but the majority, we just did a poll, the majority still say it's for price. And you see things in the comments that people throw around. You have to be really, really careful about what people say about things, because remember, it's only their experience. And just because someone just went abroad and, you know, they tell you all of a sudden this is the best, this country is the best thing since sliced bread, and you see this, they just come and go. It's not just a revolving door of expats, it's the bloggers. They're part of that group that they're telling everyone that this country is the best thing since honey, and then 5 years later they're no longer there. You know, so what happened? But what happens is 5 years later, most of those people have already gone home and nobody cares. So there's a whole new group coming. And so when you move to a different country and start saying that country is the best thing since sliced bread, well, most people don't notice. And the ones that went home, they're home, you know, they're gone. So that's what's happening. That's what I'm seeing in this niche. And 15 years later, I'm still seeing the same thing. People, new bloggers, it's just, there are just, we used to think the travel niche is saturated, you know, back in 2010. Oh, the travel niche is saturated. Well, that was blogging, but then vlogging blew up. Oh, it's saturated, but it's not true. People get in here, and it's just people jump from one blogging to another blogging, and they all have the same thing in common. Everything they talk about is the best thing since sliced bread. And if you're a channel like ours, you just become a defunct channel. This channel is a defunct channel. Let's face it, it just amazes me how many people out there are willing to just say things just to grab on to that appearance of success, to be able to say things that make you get views, and you know, if you know, so there's two sides to this. You know, there's people that'll say whatever they've got to say to close the deal, and then there's people that are just going to be honest. You know, and when it comes to a channel, especially in this niche is just, I don't know if it's cursed or what's wrong with it, but it seems like everybody that makes it in this niche has to be in that first camp of people that'll say whatever they've got to say to make it work. And that's what you're dealing with. But you know, and then you got people in the comments. This is not a rant about being abroad. This is just an observation after 15 years of having gone full circle. And you know, I've been out of the camera spotlight, and I'm thinking about these things all the time when I get back on the computer and I see that it's just nothing has changed. And people in the comments, you got to watch out. I started saying, people will say, oh, well, you know, I can only afford $550 a month in rent. Okay, there's something to that. Let me get to that in a second. Then they'll say, well, and then the car expense is $1,000 a month. Where did you get that? Who told you car expense? Was your car expense $1,000 a month? Well, you know, a lot of times people will say things based on what they know. Maybe they don't really know. Our car expense is $200 a month. You're retired. Are you commuting? I mean, if you're retired, why do you know, this big honking car with, you know, all these pistons and everything, and I mean, you just go, we barely go to use the car once a month, and we live centrally located, just like people like to do when they go abroad. They like to be centrally located. If I want to, I can walk, and if I want to, I can take a bus. The same exact thing as when I was abroad in Cuenca. If I wanted to, I walked, which we did, and if we wanted to, we took the bus. I don't take taxis here. But I don't have to. I don't miss them, you know. But people say, oh, $1,000 a month for this, $2,000 a month for that in the U.S. Be careful. That's just not necessarily so. And then what about food? Okay, well, most people that go abroad are either one or two people. There's very few families. There are some. But even if you are a family, I mean, we raised 3 boys. I mean, I don't feel like it was hard. And we always did it on a very small means, very small income. And we raised 3 boys. You know, they're big boys, they're healthy. We were saying months ago, don't go to Mexico. Things are getting out of hand. And the bloggers were just poo-pooing it and just sweeping it under the rug. Now look at it. And people in the comments, oh, you guys, you were right. We're at the, because we're honest, we're always at the forefront. We're at the front of the line when it comes to predicting and knowing what's happening, what's going on. And so, you know, and you see people, well, I shouldn't have listened to only one blogger. Right. And you take a defunct channel like ours, and who's listening? Who's listening to it? You tell me, should we keep making these videos? I mean, every month we just want to quit. But we don't even know if anybody cares. I mean, do people want us to make these videos? We don't know. You know, just let us know. It's discouraging. You know, there's no money in it. But anyway, I think that a lot of the discussions that can be had about this can be had intelligently. And I think that just a lot of people are just, if you're not careful who you're listening to, you're bound to be having a conversation that's not really very comprehensive and doesn't really get to the matter of things. And that doesn't really have anything to do with how much money you got. It encompasses all income levels. People that go abroad because they're poor, people that go abroad because they want to live in luxury, people that go abroad because they don't want to pay taxes. They all have their set of challenges, and they're all being swept under the rug. Nothing has changed in 15 years. It's the same. And that makes people like us scratch our heads and wonder, what are we doing? Anyway, thanks for staying with me, and leave us a comment below. Thanks for coming to the video. Have a wonderful day. Glad to see ya.